We all want to believe that our homes are safe places, that the air that we breathe indoors is clean and healthy. But what if there's an invisible threat hiding in plain sight? Today, we're going to uncover a hidden danger that could be quietly affecting your family's health and show you how cutting edge science can help you breathe easier. Here's what we'll be covering together. First, we'll look at the science behind mycotoxins, what they are, and why they matter to your home's air quality. Next, we'll explore their health impacts, the risks they pose to you and your loved ones. Then we'll see how advanced testing methods can identify these invisible contaminants. And finally, we'll introduce the AIM solution, a proven, science-based approach to removing mycotoxins and restoring clean, safe air to your home. Mycotoxins are one of the most misunderstood threats inside homes today. They're not mold itself. They're toxic chemicals produced by some molds in certain situations. Think of them as the poisonous byproducts of certain fungi. And unlike living mold, these toxins can't be killed. They can linger long after the mold that made them has disappeared or been removed. In a way, you could think of mycotoxins as the chemical weapons of the fungal world: invisible, persistent, and dangerous. Once released, they can cling to surfaces, float in the air, and continue affecting your health day after day. In nature, molds produce mycotoxins as a defense mechanism to protect their territory from competing fungi. Each type of mold creates its own unique chemical weapons. But here's the problem. Those same defense chemicals, they don't discriminate. What's meant to target other molds can just as easily harm humans. So while mold is simply trying to survive, the byproducts it releases can have serious and unintended consequences for anyone living nearby. One of the biggest challenges with mycotoxins is that they're unpredictable. Just because you see mold doesn't mean mycotoxins are present. And small amounts of mold can actually produce high toxin levels. Even more confusing, different mold species can create the same types of mycotoxins. That's why visual inspections alone aren't enough, and why proper testing is so critical for understanding what's really in your environment. So how do mycotoxins end up in the air that you breathe? It starts when damp mold heats up. As moisture begins to evaporate off that mold colony, these toxins hitch a ride, so to speak, on tiny water vapor molecules, and they lift into the air. Once airborne, they can stay suspended for long periods, eventually settling on surfaces throughout the home, sometimes far away from the original mold source. And every time your heating system turns on, that air handler, or even when you move around your house, those microscopic toxins can be stirred back into the air column again. The key takeaway? Mycotoxins can travel far beyond the visible mold, contaminating areas that appear perfectly clean. There are three main ways people are exposed to mycotoxins. The first is ingestion, eating contaminated food. Now, fortunately, our bodies have some ability to process dietary toxins through the liver and gut bacteria. The second is skin contact, touching contaminated surfaces. This can trigger both short-term irritation and long-term reactions, especially in people with chemical sensitivities. But the third and most dangerous is inhalation. When you breathe in Airborne mycotoxins, they enter your bloodstream directly and can even reach your brain. When you inhale mycotoxins, they settle deep within your lungs, especially in the tiny alveoli where oxygen exchange takes place. From there, they quickly move into the bloodstream and travel throughout your body. Some of these toxins can even bypass the blood-brain barrier through the nasal passages. Research shows that mycotoxin-related symptoms are often more severe when toxins are inhaled rather than ingested, because they completely bypass the body's natural digestive defenses. So while you may not see the problem, every breath could be delivering harmful chemicals straight into your system. Mold spores themselves are irritants. They can cause watery eyes, skin sensitivity, throat irritation, or different respiratory issues like coughing and wheezing. Annoying, yes, but usually manageable. Mycotoxins, however, take things to another level. They're toxic chemicals that can suppress your immune system, damage nerves, and in some cases even cause cancers. What makes them especially dangerous is that you might not feel sick right away. The effects can build silently over time, leading to chronic or severe conditions down the road. The World Health Organization has stated clearly that mycotoxins pose a serious health threat to both humans and animals. Their effects range from short-term poisoning to long-term consequences, such as immune deficiency and cancer. Scientific studies have linked ongoing exposure to conditions like Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, diabetes, and even certain autoimmune disorders. This is not just a comfort issue. It's a real health concern that demands attention. Some people are more vulnerable to mycotoxin exposure than others. Children, for example, have developing immune systems and lower body weight, which means toxins affect them more deeply. The elderly face age-related immune challenges. Those with existing health issues or compromised immunity are at higher risk. And individuals who are chemically sensitive can react to even very low levels of exposure. But make no mistake, even healthy adults can be affected. The length of exposure, combined with the concentration of toxins and your own body chemistry, determines how your system responds. Most traditional mold tests cannot detect mycotoxins. Spore trap samples, they only tell you what mold species are present, not whether they're producing toxins. Urine or blood tests can show what your body has processed, but they can't reveal what's in your environment or how serious it is, or even where you came into contact with those mycotoxins. Even dust samples may show settled toxins, but they fail to measure what's actually in the air that you're breathing. That's why so many people continue to feel unwell, even after quote unquote successful mold remediation, because the mycotoxins were never identified or removed. This is where the breakthrough comes in. AMEA, Airborne Mycotoxin Environmental Analysis. It's the first test of its kind. It identifies and quantifies the most common airborne mycotoxins in indoor environments through direct air sampling. Using specialized IOM samples with mycocassettes, that's the gold standard for capturing inhalable particles, AMEA simulates normal household activity to measure real-world exposure levels. Then, through a patented extraction process and industry-standard ELISA analysis, it provides accurate, science-backed results that you can trust. Now, while AMIA tells you what's in the air, MISA testing reveals what's on your surfaces, the walls, furniture, belongings that you and your family touch every day. When used together, AMIA and MISA provide a complete picture of your home's contamination, both airborne and surface bound. For the first time, you can truly understand where these toxins are and take targeted action to eliminate them. Here's a disturbing truth. Standard mold remediation can actually make things worse. When you scrub surfaces, when you wire brush, or even HEPA vacuum, you might remove visible mold, but those actions can also crush mold cells and release even more mycotoxins into the air. And HEPA filters can't trap these toxins. They're far too small. In fact, we've, through testing, proven that the air coming out of a HEPA filter scrubber has more of a mycotoxin load than the air going in. So instead of solving the problem, traditional methods often spread the contamination throughout your home. That's why verification with AMIA testing is so essential. It's the only reliable way to confirm that airborne toxins have been completely removed. With Goldmorr, we use a proven system called the AIM process, which stands for Assessment, Identification, and Methodology. It begins with listening, understanding your symptoms, your concerns, and your home's history. Then professional testing with AMIA and MISA identifies exactly which mycotoxins are present and where they're concentrated. From there, trained technicians perform a controlled, multi-step removal process using Goldmorr 2020 HA and other specialized cleaning protocols. Over a multi-day drying period, depending on the job scope, humidity is carefully managed to lift and capture toxins from your environment. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, post-treatment testing confirms that your home is safe, with mycotoxin levels reduced to non-detect. You'll receive full documentation and clearance certification so you can move forward with confidence. Your home deserves more than a surface solution. You've learned how mycotoxins can quietly undermine your family's health. But now you also know there's a proven way to eliminate them effectively. Ask your certified remediation professional about Goldmorr's AIM process, the only system proven to detect and remove airborne and surface mycotoxins to non-detect levels. Don't wait for symptoms to tell you there's a problem. Take control of your air today and breathe easier tomorrow.